This is being made after I just woke up, so sorry if I sound bad. This is the ultimate Five Nights at Yoshi's Ultra Deluxe guide. This guide will go through all of the max modes of Five Nights at Yoshi's Ultra Deluxe and a few self-imposed challenges for some extra points if you plan on doing those. 720 is the game's base max mode and likely won't be too much of a struggle. The character's mechanics are pretty simple. Yoshi will make his way from the show stage to your window, where you will force your monitor down and start running to your doors. This forces you to use the door lights to watch other characters, since you can't use the cams. His kill timer is 4 seconds, which allows you to stall him out for some extra time, which is very important for these modes due to the green run. Daniel will make his way from the show stage to your left door. He can be seen using the door lights or checking the left door cam. He can leave on different intervals, either instant or 2 to 5 to 3 seconds. Once you use the door lights on him, you will not be able to see him through the lights, and you must check the cameras until he leaves. Onion works just like Daniel, but will go to your right door. His gimmick is that he can spawn a clone of himself in your doors. This clone has no eyes, so it's easy to differentiate between the two. Daniel will also take priority of the clone when at the door, and that is not too important right now. Also, the clone does not need the door to be closed. It will leave on its own. Chili will slowly exit his cove, then run to your right door. He will be seen in the window when doing this. You can close the door for even a single frame and he will leave. Scrappy will make his way to your office and requires the shock button on the desk to be held, taking 3% power each shock. He is stalled by the doors but has a temper meter that increases when the door is closed on him. Once this meter is max, he will knock on the door and take a bit of power away from the player, then reset his meter. It resets whenever he is shocked in the office. Inverted stays in your office and will sometimes appear. Simply flip up the cams and he'll leave. Spindly will come from the top of the office and make his way down. Keep clicking on him until he leaves the screen to deal with him. Not much strategy is involved here, as power is pretty lenient. Just check the right door light sometimes and watch the left door cam and you should beat it pretty easily. 720 Spindly All Night is a self-imposed challenge that involves never sending Spindly off the screen. This doesn't change too much from base gameplay, although it requires you to be faster as to not let Spindly advance too much and overwhelm you. Play like you normally do, but make sure not to send Spindly off the screen. 720 Silly Mode is 720 but with the Silly Mode challenge active. Each character gets a unique buff through the nights, indicated by their hallucinations. Yoshi can now laugh when going to a door, meaning he will go to the opposite side. This sound is easily drowned out, so make sure you listen for it to not miss it. This is due to a click team bug, and it's something you can't control. Daniel can no longer be seen at the left door cam, requiring you to either use cam 4 or 5 or check the door lights. Checking cam 4 is more optimal as it saves power but requires more skill and is not recommended when first learning this mode. Onion no longer appears at the door light, meaning you have to check his cam to see him. A good strategy for Onion is that if you hear him in the kitchen, that means he will move to your door next. Chili will now instantly leave his cove instead of progressing through stages. Doesn't change much from gameplay, it just makes him show up more frequently. Scrappy now has to be shocked when he is at your doors instead in your office. A good idea is to flip up the cams and check the door cams quickly to find him. He's able to be seen on cam 4 before reaching the left door and will alternate sides every attack. Inverted now has a progress bar that lowers when you are in the cams. The best strat is to use cam 4 to watch Daniel and only flip cams down for Spindly or closing the door, but it's still okay to play without cam 4. It is just harder to manage inverted. Spindly now spawns behind the desk as well, and if you reach his attack point, he will max out your usage bar. It's just another Spindly, so it's not too much of a change. Another change is that Yoshi will no longer lock your cam when he attacks, as that would make the other characters pretty unfair, like Onion. The strategy I recommend is learning cam 4 and 5 for Daniel and stalling Yoshi's attacks to allow you to close both doors once 5 AM hits. Inverted will always be the last buff, so you can flip up right before it happens to fully reset him. 720 Silly Mode Spindly and All Night is significantly harder than 720 Spindly and All Night, due to the second spider being able to attack you much quicker than the first, and if he starts taking power, he will not stop. The best strategy is resetting until Spindly leaves the third buff or later, as it makes him more manageable. Inverter makes this significantly harder, but keep playing and you should be able to get through. 720 but a spider at the cables is 720 Silly Mode, but Silly Spindly cannot be clicked. It is heavily RNG dependent and relies a lot on your green running skills. This is possible to do with Spindly as the second to last buff, but that requires near perfect playing. So keep resetting until he is the last buff, and then green run like your life depends on it. Stall Yoshi as long as you can, stall Scrappy before he gets buffed because he can stay in the office for about 4 to 5 seconds and then shock him. On my run, I reached with the Spindly buff with 82% power and I ended with 22%, so it requires about a 60% green run to do it without a power out, but around 50% should be good for a power out win. 720 all challenges is the first mode where green running actually matters. Long nights just makes the night length 5 minutes instead of 2:30, and also doubles your power for compensation. And faulty equipment punishes you heavily for having a 2 usage bar. Instead of draining 1 per second, it will drain 3 per second. I heavily recommend not using the lights in this mode because it uses too much power, and also stalling Yoshi for about 3 seconds before closing the door. This mode is probably the first challenge since it's hard to learn the green running, but once you learn it, it should go down pretty easily. Eternal 720 is from the FNAY Yoshi'S Ultra Deluxe Eternal mod. It makes all silly mode buffs active from the start. It's not too complicated, just make sure you don't forget Daniel and Scrappy and remember to click Spindly, and you should be able to beat it pretty easily. Eternal 720 Spindly in all night is personally, for me, very easy to learn once you beat 720 Spindly in all night, silly mode Spindly in all night, as it is just that mode but for the whole night, so just play it like that. Eternal 720 all challenges is going to be a massive struggle point, as you will be easily overwhelmed by inverted and will lose your run due to losing too much power. My best advice is to click Spindly very quickly to send him down as fast as you can, and spend as little time in the office as possible for inverted timers. This mode basically requires cam 4 or 5 because of how power is. Evil 720 is 720 but with Evil active on all characters. Evil adds an extra buff to every character. Yoshi's now permanently at the window but doesn't lock your cams and runs less frequently. Daniel is no longer seen using the lights, so you have to use the cams. Onion's clone now must be flashed using the lights or he locks your doors. Chili can now do fake outs and runs quicker. He can only swap 3 times before he can't anymore, stopping at your left door. Scrappy's temper no longer resets after being shocked, basically like Old Candy's blood mode, however it still gets reset after he knocks. Inverted is now permanent in the office, but flipping only resets their kill timer. And Spindly now has 2 extra Spindlies on the left and right side. The general strat is to look at Daniel's cam and install Yoshi at the start. The clone swaps sides every attack, so use that to your advantage. Overall, it is a decent jump from the other modes, but with enough practice you should get it down. Evil 720 Spindly all night is a terrible mode to play. I heavily don't recommend it. But if you do, it's just a harder version of Eternal 720 Spindly all night. So keep playing and eventually you'll be able to beat it. Evil 720 Silly Mode is the first true challenge of FNAY Yoshi'S Ultra Deluxe. Yoshi and Chili don't have too much of a change, but Spindly now has 3 extra clones. Daniel requires cams 4 and 5. Onion just adds extra chaos, and Scrappy is way faster. The general strategy when starting this mode is to learn cam 4-5 strats. Daniel will always go to cam 4, and when he leaves, he will either go to your door or cam 5. When he leaves cam 4, check cam 5, and if he isn't there, close the door and check the dining room cam, although this is optional, to see when he leaves. The dining room cam is mainly only used for green running, but it is something extra to learn if you want to become a master at this game. Scrappy is the new most fun character, because he introduces timers. For Evil 720 Silly Mode and Evil 720 All Challenges, you will want to use the FNAF timer. When Scrappy gets buff, you will want to reset the timer, and on the 20-second interval, use the shock. After this, every 15-second interval after, so 20 seconds, 35 seconds, 50 seconds, a minute 5, you should shock Scrappy. This method prevents you from ever having to look at the left door camera and even the right door camera with predictions. This mode is significantly harder than all the other modes, as it is very easy to get overwhelmed. But As long as you have enough playtime, you should be able to take it. Evil 720 All Challenges is the hardest challenge that the game has to offer. This mode starts as a huge mountain to conquer, and your power will be horrible for the start if you're playing. If you have 2 usage, your power will drain 3% per second, so I heavily recommend not closing both doors and only using lights if no doors is closed, unless absolutely necessary. I won't rant about this, but a few bugs that you should know are for Chili, Yoshi, and especially Onion. Chili's run will sometimes not show visually, and his kill timer will not be reset, but his sound cue will still play and he will go to the opposite door. Basically, he will go to the right, then to the left, but he will go to the right, not show at the window. However, he is at the right door and his kill timer does not reset. So when you hear his sound cue, you only have 2 seconds to close the door. Yoshi's run will sometimes not play, only his visuals. This is a rare bug, but it is possible to happen. It can easily throw you off and waste power. Onion has probably the most annoying bug. He can sometimes stay at your door for twice as long. From 2.5 seconds to 5 seconds, and his kill timer does not reset. If Scrappy is on that same side, it is almost a guaranteed knock, and if the clone is on that side, it requires some crazy speed to get him. Overall, this mode may look and seem easy, but it is a huge challenge to conquer, and I wish anyone who is willing to try this good luck. Eternal Evil 720 will not be covered in this guide, as I have not beaten it yet, but this will be the end of the guide. Hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope this helped some of you guys beat these modes.